Sony shouldn't be happy with the performance of Wukong on PlayStation 5 as explored by Oliver and Alex, and yet they might just be, seeing how they could finally have a much-needed selling angle for a Pro console on their hands here, don't they? This is, well, okay, look, first of all, I think we kind of have to dispel this notion that developers, publishers, platform holders have nefarious schemes to nerf games in order to upsell you to something else. It just doesn't happen. Everyone wants to put out a great product. It is completely counterintuitive and doesn't make a commercial sense whatsoever to actually deliberately make your product bad in some way. Maybe I'm wrong here. I don't think there's any historical precedent for this, for it to be done intentionally. However, I guess this question could be, bearing in mind what we know about the PlayStation 5 Pro, and let's assume that the developer gets to grips with console conventions in the way you were talking about earlier, Oliver, what do you think a Pro console version of Wukong would actually look like?
On the positive side, to be more positive, I think the issues related to image quality could probably be ameliorated to a significant degree, could probably be solved through the PlayStation 5 Pro, hypothetical PlayStation 5 Pro, possibly higher res rendering in there, maybe PSSR, and that could certainly help. But I would stress that with image quality in Wukong, some issues like the dithering on post-process effects kind of tend to supersede that. So they're an issue even on PC with some of the higher end anti-aliasing settings there. But with performance, again, don't want to harp on this. I'm not so sure because the issues they do have perf-wise are to some large degree problems of their own design, bizarre frame rate choices, and the quality and balanced modes. That's a complete cell phone. The use of frame gen into performance mode, which probably is not necessary to reach high frame rates. I mean, there's some weird issues there. And of course, the PS5 Pro does not have a much faster CPU than the PS5, so traversal stutter should be pretty much the same as far as I'm concerned. Like, it should be pretty similar. Issues like that, where the game may be experiencing a CPU limitation for some reason, that should be quite similar. So I'd say in part, yes, but it has more to do with fundamental issues with the way the game is configured and a couple performance areas of concern, like those traversal stutters.
I think it was pointed out quite strongly in your review that the actual graphics in the game are really good.
Yes, absolutely.
They've done a fantastic job there. Alex, what would you expect from a Pro console version of Wukong?
I would hope for image quality improvements. I would hope the modes change in general for all versions of the game so that there is maybe what they should do is instead like a VSync option. Instead, just like VSync, like, a cap option, like capped, uncapped. And don't keep like a billion modes maybe, but then for example, the quality modes, etc., could maybe scale up higher, presuming the CPU isn't the burden to getting to 60 often. Based upon my Ryzen 5 3600 footage that I've gathered for the game, which that video should be out by now. It didn't seem to be the CPU was not the big issue. I was having to do 1080p optimized settings with like DLSS and like quality mode to get the 2070 Super up to 60 FPS in most scenarios, not all. It was just super GPU heavy, and I think that points to the fact that maybe a PS5 Pro and even just the base PS5 could have a very different 60 FPS mode if they designed for it. Obviously, I don't know everything. But I would really just hope for better image quality, because I feel like the game's image quality in all versions, if I'm complaining about image quality on PC, there's usually something pretty wrong, right? Like usually that is the thing that I'm talking about in video that's the best part of a PC version in the more boring ports, right? So yeah, they should really fix that up, and including look at de-dithering the motion blur in the game. I have no idea what that is. I tried using Unreal Engine Unlocker to play with, there's a number of motion blur quality commands in Unreal, like separable blur, pass, some sort of filtering mode. None of them did anything. I've seen dithered motion blur in Unreal Engine 4 titles before, very specifically the Tango Gameworks Tokyo title. My goodness, what
Ghostwire Tokyo?
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ghostwire,
that also has dithered motion blur in it. Kind of like this, but not as bad, probably due to the different level of sharpening in the game. So yeah, the sharpening just makes everything worse because like each little bit of motion blur dither has a black circle around it.
Yes.
It's so bad looking. But yeah,
if you want to fry your eyes, look at that dither PS5 performance mode. It is unbelievably bad. It is so bad.
The slow motion parts of your video
too.
Yeah, the slow motion parts of your video where you're just like fighting the boss and he's got like the fire effects too. It's just, and with the hit effects, everything, the fire, the hit effects, the motion blur, and the frame gen, it just looked like, blah. It was so brutal. And yeah, there's a lot of ways to fix that. They have nothing to do with PlayStation 5 Pro.
Is there any reason to enhance the ray tracing as seen in PlayStation 5? Has it got ray tracing? Is it like the lower lumen?
It's the software lumen.
Software lumen, right.
I mean, hardware lumen, if the engine version they have supports it and their performance is there, there are pointed out issues with that. I think it could be nice to get rid of some of the SSR artifacts that the game has.